How you doing today, folks? And welcome to Red Wolf EDC. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, right, I love this knife. I've loved it for years. I've had 7 or 8 of them over the years. Most variations of this knife in some way, shape, or form I have owned. The Wilson Combat, the Monkey Edge Frag version, etc., etc., etc. So I don't want to make you wait for the overall review of this knife so you understand like why I love it. So I'm just going to tell you right now, this is a great knife. If you're on the fence, don't be. Buy it. The Chris Reeve knives, Umnumzaan, in my opinion, is one of the greatest knives of all time. Now, if you're curious as to why I feel that way, stick around, stay tuned, and let's talk about it. Because, folks, this is a knife that I have a history with. Now, I bought my first Umnumzaan from Chris Reeve himself years ago with the giant ass pivot that everyone seems to love. I hate that thing, right? The original pivot to me looks like a Futurama nipple. Okay, now picture the robots from Futurama, right? And like, they have like the gaudy ass outfits and everything else. And there is one episode on the actual movie to where it shows, robot nudity. And it's creepy, just to be fair. But I cannot get the sight of like that giant ass thing on the actual knife. To me, just straight up looks like a Futurama's robotic nipple. I don't like it. I really, really like the new pivot. This to me is, it's basic, just a regular ass pivot. Nothing wrong with it, nothing not wrong with it. But, it works. And it really complements the overall style of this knife because this, I gotta be honest, folks, is one of the prettiest knives I've ever seen, in my humble opinion. Now, I'm a big proponent of modifying knives. Almost every knife I own at some point in time has had custom scales or, thumb studs or clips or any number of different things, right? Because I love the community. I love the fact that we have actual artisans, some really, really talented people are in this community, and they make amazing stuff. This knife, on the other hand, I have no desire at all to modify. Now, this one is a glass blasted variant, so it is a lot shinier than the normal stonewash. Give you an idea. There is the stonewash. There is the glass blast. Or sandblast, excuse me. Here is the sandblast. Nice matte texturing, not bad at all. And then here is the glass blast. But here is the crazy thing about the glass blast, right? Originally I had an Umnumzaan, right? Actually, this Umnumzaan came sandblasted. And I've used other ones previously before, and they look great when you start to use them, right? Because they take a lot of different scratches and marks and patina and everything else, which I personally enjoy. But I was talking to Corey, or excuse me, not Corey, Nolan over there, Chris Reeve Knives, because I was thinking about getting this thing vapor honed, which is going to be a little bit shinier than this, but still, pretty close to the same aesthetics. And he was telling me that the glass blast that he has on his user is actually extraordinarily durable. It has basically no marks on it after years of use. Now for me, I took that shit as a challenge because I'm a user, folks. Every single knife that I own, I use. And if I don't, it gets sold because if I don't want to use it, I don't want to own it. This knife looks beautiful, right? It looks mint. It looks untouched. I promise you. I swear on my ginger heart. I swear on the Allfather. I swear on everything that I fucking love, right? This knife has been used, and it's been used a lot. And you really cannot tell. There's some paper right there, or tape, I think, but the actual blade itself, if you get it in the right light, there's small little scratches, stuff like that, but it's very, very minor. This has been slightly cleaned for the video, though not good enough, obviously, so I missed some paper, and there's some paper residue right there. But again, this is after some real and genuine hard use, right? But more than that, I carried this knife with me on a road trip across the entire country. Because I was in California, now I'm in good old North Carolina, where I now live. And we went all over to different states, did all sorts of crazy ass shit, and I carried this knife every step of the way. So every time I went to eat food, cannot talk, every time I went to eat food, this knife ground against a ceramic plate, which is, let's be honest here, kind of abuse. Like, ceramic is very, very hard. This has cut food. This has prepared food. This has cut feather sticks. It has done a number of different things, right? But I was also in a, basically it's a crater in Arizona that like a meteor went down. And I dropped this knife down that goddamn crater. So this shit bounced and rolled and did all sorts of dumb things for like maybe 50 to 60 yards down a mountain. And it was very, very dusty and looked bad. And I washed it off. And it looks like this. Tell me that's not impressive, because I was shocked. I was like, fuck, I just got this one. This one's in MagnaCut, right? I just got this knife. I tried so hard to get it, and I finally managed to secure one, and I just broke it, or I fucked it up, right? You're not even supposed to go down into this crater. Like, there's like fences and everywhere else, and so they have, basically, long story short, they have this like observation deck thing that goes over it, where you can take an actual telescope and look into the sky and look at some shit. Or you can also go into the crater and see little, like, you know, kind of Easter eggs. They have like stuff hidden around. You can find it. And I was doing that, and I was being an idiot and opening and closing the knife while doing that. And I dropped it, and it bounced against the actual railing and went da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I was like, okay. It says right there, if you go over this fence, it's a $10,000 fine and also jail. Is this knife worth it? I'm telling you folks, I thought about that for all of like 30 seconds before I dived my ginger ass over that railing, hopped that fence, crawled into this gigantic meteor crater, and I got back my knife, which was dirty and it looked damaged, but it came out on the other side absolutely freaking perfect. Crazy. I don't know how a glass blast makes a knife that durable to where it does not scratch, because I love titanium, but titanium scratches so freaking easy. At least I thought it did. Because this just didn't scratch. Now, let's see if I can show it. There is a little bit of wear on this actual glass blasted clip, because I was literally climbing up this little like kind of like ravine thing, and it's pretty narrow, right? So what you have to do is you literally shove your body inside of it flat, and then you climb, and there's almost no room to kind of get up. And you're probably not supposed to climb this thing, but I'm an idiot and I was curious and it looked fun, so I did it. I actually got stuck. I managed to get myself out right, but I did get stuck for a little bit. And while wiggling my ass, my fat ass, to get out of this little freaking ravine, crevasse thing or whatever in the earth, I grinded on this clip. But I grinded on it extraordinarily freaking hard, because again, I'm shimmying my big ass frame among rocks, like fucking stone, trying to get out of this damn thing. And it has like 4, 5 little scratches. Come on, that's ridiculous. Now, besides just the actual glass blast and the amazing finish, right, you have a beautiful, beautiful blade. I love this slight little swedge, almost like a spear point thing that swoops up and down. This little swoop right here, for me, fits my hands perfectly. My thumb goes right there and I'm able to do really strong pressure cuts with no issue and no hot spots. Now, as far as the actual Chris Reeve knives MagnaCut, okay, first off, I'm a sweaty bastard. It is ridiculous. I am sitting here in an air-conditioned house right now that is at 65 degrees, and I'm sweating. To be fair, there's a light right there and a light up there and some other stuff that's going on, so that's helping a little bit. But it's 65 degrees right now. And my elbows feel like I'm in a swamp. It's disgusting. I sweat so much, it's not okay. I have a rusted M390, all the other like supposedly like rust-proof steels. I have rusted LC200N. Now, I'm not a metallurgist, right? So I don't know which one has more corrosion resistance, LC200N or MagnaCut. But I can tell you that in my Swamp Thing pockets, in my disgusting, swampy, freaking Salt Lick Swamp Thing pockets, that's a disgusting fucking image. Ew. I just grossed myself out. There's no rust. There's no corrosion. There's no patina. There's nothing. That's nuts. I've also used this knife pretty freaking hard in many stupid ways, and it is still a laser beam. Now, normally for my hard use reviews, I require this knife to be brought all the way down to being dishwater dull and then resharpened again to really get a fair idea. But I can't seem to make this knife go fucking dull. Is it as sharp as it was originally? No, of course not. But it still cuts. Like, it still cuts just fine. Do I have a box around here? I do not. Fuck it. Oh, maybe this will work. This is an aircraft stand. Okay, random. But it still cuts. There's no issues, like little bitty small cuts. It's easy, right, to do a big push cut. But to do just a little tiny ass cut, nice and slow like that, is where you actually see what the edge can do. And after, let's be honest here, abuse, this knife is still sharp. So while technically speaking, I won't qualify this as a hard use review because I've not gotten it dull yet. I've had this for months. I've been really actively trying to dull it, and it's not even close. So like, I'm gonna have to sharpen this knife like what, once a year during hard use? That's insane. That's fucking crazy. So as far as the blade in MagnaCut, this is good to go. I really have zero complaints. Now, as far as the action, right, with an Umnumzaan, fail. There you go. The action is not the greatest. I'm gonna be completely honest. I love the slow roll. That's why I like Chris Reeve knives, because they just feel amazing slow rolling out. And for that, this is amazing. It's one of the smoothest knives I've ever felt in my entire life. But if you want something to flick out and drop shut and everything else, it'll get there. You can definitely flick it out, but it's not going to be a laser beam drop shut. Eventually, it will drop shut, to be clear. I have some ends that are very, very smooth and drop shut, no problem. But it's not going to be this like whole modern version where everyone wants a knife that flicks out, fidgety, it drops shut super fast and everything else. That's just not going to happen. These knives are not designed that way. This knife, which is, you know, the Umnumzaan, which means the boss, is meant to work. And it does that. Now, let's take a moment, right, to talk about the actual glass breaker. This thing, which is so unassuming, right? First off, it's kind of weird looking. Reminds me of a fucking Teletubby, to be completely honest with you guys. It sort of drives me crazy. But I have broken glass with it, and normally speaking with a hardened carbide glass breaker, you know, you expect it to break glass. This is just steel. So I was thinking, right, it would be like 3 or 4 hits to actually shatter a window. It was 1. I did 1 hit, not even that hard, just like kind of trying to test it out, and that shit blew up. Now, to be fair, I did not do any more hits because I only had the 1 window to break. So it was just a 1 and done. Maybe that's a fluke. I don't know. But if you have to break glass and you want a tactical glass breaker, you know, it works. It works very, very well. Now, as far as the actual handle, right, or the scales, I love the way this looks. This is such a pretty knife. And during actual hard use, It feels great. Now, to be clear, I have size 2XL hands. About a quarter of my pinky sticking off the edge of this knife, which is why I have a lanyard there. If you have, small, medium, large, XL, it'll fit your hands better. And you might not need this little lanyard, this little stupid lanyard thing here that I kind of hate, but for me it's necessary because my pinky goes right here. Then it'll fit better in your hands. For me, I like the ergonomics with the lanyard. They're totally functional and I really enjoy it. But I wish it was a little bit bigger. Though to be clear, this is a full-size knife, folks. Put it up against the Benchmade AutoFact. A little smaller than the AutoFact, but definitely still a full-size knife. Against a Chris Reeve knife, Sebenza. Let me go ahead and turn this around. My bad. I think it's a little bit bigger than the Sebenza. Either that or it's dead on. But either way, this is considered to be the EDC Gold knife. So let's put it up against the TRM Atom. Definitely bigger than the Atom, but it is a full-size knife. So if you don't want a full-size knife, it's probably not for you. But if you do, and you want a worker, you want a knife that will last you your life, your kid's life, possibly your kids' kids' lives, these knives are generational pieces. And as such, they are incredible. And the more you use them, the more you abuse them, the smoother they get, the better they get, right? And the best thing for me is the warranty. Now, I love modifying knives, but I also love the idea that this knife, as is, forever, as long as Chris Reeve Knives exists, I can send this knife in. If I happen to scratch it all up, make it all fucked up again, which, I don't see that happening. This went down a fucking goddamn mountain. Or crater, technically speaking, but it's very deep. And it looks like this. So I don't see it needing to be retouched up, but if it ever does, I pay $50 for the actual glass blast. It's free for life. The sharpening of this extraordinarily durable and somehow still sharp blade is free. I send it in. If it gets so goddamn whooped to where the blade is gone, they'll replace the blade for free. If I break the blade, that costs money. If we do something stupid with a knife, that costs money. But if I'm just using it and loving it, which is all I ever really do with this knife, it's free. Now, these go for about $500, which for some folks is a lot, right? And I understand that. We're all at different points in our life, but I want to take a moment to explain something to you all. You could buy a gas station knife for $5, $10. It might last you a couple of months before you break it, or something happens to it, or whatever the case may be. You could buy a budget knife for $50, $60, $100. Might last you a while before you eventually break it, or something happens to it. Or you can invest in a piece that will outlast you, that will outlast your kids, that will probably outlast your kids' kids. For me, that's incredible. This knife is not meant for one person. It's meant for generations. And you feel that when you actually use it, man, when you deploy it with this method, right? With this method that is so deliberate. Okay, this doesn't feel like other knives. TRM Atom, you flick it out, same shit, right? I actually have no other knives on me right now besides the other ones I showed. Let's do this one right here. Microtech MSI, right? You flick it out. It's all pretty uniform, right? It's all the same shit. With this, if you try doing that, wow, 1 in a million it actually fucking worked. God damn it. Anyways, if you try doing that, you're gonna get this. It's not designed to open that way. Now, if you want to flick it out, you put your thumb real close in there, you push outwards and up at the same time. Fail. Damn it. And then it works. If you want to slow roll it, you got to hold it up here and it rolls out. But it's such a deliberate opening, right? There's nothing else really like that. But here's the thing. If you use and you carry this knife for just yourself or for your family for generations, it becomes second nature. Obviously, I'm not quite there yet, but I'll get there eventually. Because it is meant to grow with you, it is meant to grow old with you, though this knife's going to age a whole lot better than you will, I promise that. And that to me is something that is inherently beautiful, right? So to break it all down, the blade is insane. I can't seem to dull this knife, right? And I abuse knives. I'm kind of an asshole when it comes to blades. I've never had this problem before. And I have a MagnaCut knife from Freeman Outdoor Gear that I doled out. I have one from Medford that I doled out. I have one from TJ Schwartz that I doled out. So I don't know what the hell Chris Reeve Knives does with their MagnaCut, but I can't make this knife go dull. Will it happen eventually? Sure. But how long will that take? I have no idea. It's freaking insane. The edge, amazing. The handle, aesthetically, for me, perfect. I love it. You know, ergonomically, it is not amazing, but it is really fucking close. But again, I have giant fucking hands, so it's not really meant, and it's not the knife's fault that I have giant hands. With the lanyard, works great, all right? But overall, this is my favorite knife of all time for a reason. And I've owned thousands of knives over the years. I own about 170, 180 right now. And out of all of those, out of that massive, crazy amount of experience in this industry, you know, this is my favorite. Think about how crazy that is. How many folks are going to own thousands of knives over the years? Not that many. I'm definitely not unique in this, but, you know, not that many. So out of thousands of knives, this is number one. Please believe there's a damn good reason for it. This knife is a jack of all trades. And it's a master of pretty much everything. EDC, it's a bigger knife, right? But it still carries just fine. Good to go. 10 out of 10. As far as a hard use knife, this knife is amazing. Good to go. 10 out of 10. As far as just a beauty piece, amazing. 10 out of 10. And all of this in a knife that I can just fucking throw around. I have hardwood floors, folks. So that just went shh and scraped against them. I don't care. I know for a fact it's going to be perfectly fine. And that peace of mind, also 10 out of 10. It is my favorite knife of all time. And honestly, it's not even close. I love it. I gotta be honest, at first, I kind of hated it. I had to really grow into that knife. But over time, as is meant to, it grew with me and it became a part of me. And I will always, always own a Chris Reeve Knives Umnumzaan. Umnumzaan, however the hell you say that. I've owned quite a few over the years. I own 3 right now. No, I own 2. I sold my frag recently, but I've owned a lot of them. They've always been in my collection. They'll always be in my collection. I'm trying to literally take my massive ass collection and turn it down into something really, really small, 5, 10, 20 pieces max. Please believe that will always be in that number 1 spot. And that's incredible. Now, as always, folks, I love you all. This is a long video. I had a lot to say, and if you stuck around, I appreciate you. As always, folks, I love you all. Please take care, and bye-bye. I love this knife.